Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, featuring Remy of course. So I am in my pajamas. I have my glass of wine poured. It is about 6 o'clock in the evening and I figured I'd do a unwind with me video and a little bit of an update and really just talk about some of the things that I wish I knew before getting a PhD in clinical psychology. So we're gonna try to accomplish that all in a video and just go from there and maybe create more if you all are interested in hearing more about my experience, things I wish I knew, and how you can prepare if you are thinking about getting a PhD in clinical psychology. So the first thing I wanted to update you all on is my moving progress. So if you haven't peeped already in the background, I do have some moving boxes. And if you're new here and haven't seen my other videos, I am a rising 6th year PhD student in clinical psychology, which is super exciting. I am at the finish line and I'm so glad to be saying this. And what that means for me is that I have a 1-year pre-doctoral residency where I have matched. I've gone through this whole match cycle in the past year and found out in February that I'll be moving back to Boston. So I'm super excited. And it's June, mid-June right now, and I will be leaving end of July, early August-ish, to move back to Boston to start my residency at the end of August. So my apartment right now is quite a bit in shambles, at least to my liking or compared to my living style. But I have sold my TV stand, I sold my bookcase, I have sold my couch. This is actually my mattress that I'm sleeping on, blow-up mattress to be exact. I actually ended up selling my mattress, which was surprising because I was not expecting to, which is great because I was gonna just toss it anyway. I sold my artwork up here. What else did I sell? I sold my bar stools. I've sold my bar cart. My dresser, my TV, my actual bed, and I think that's a little bit or pretty much everything that I've sold. So I am pretty much living like I am moving today or tomorrow, but that is okay. I'm glad I got it out of the way. I wasn't expecting to sell everything so quickly, but I'm glad I did. So let's go ahead and unwind. So I just finished up for my day. I didn't have much to do really. I spent the day running errands, doing some cleaning, cooking, laundry. I had some work that I did for my dissertation, caught up with my friend, and now I am going to wash my face and do like a self-care, but also talk about things I wish I knew about before getting a PhD in clinical psychology. So let's head to the bathroom right now and I will tell you all sort of what my typical routine is. Some of what I'll be doing, so like treatments and things like that, masks. I don't do this on a regular, I really don't. I wish I did do it more. But for the sake of unwinding and getting comfortable and relaxed, and for the sake of chatting with you all as though we were having a night in, I am going to do all of that. So I'm gonna prop you all right here. I've also sold quite a bit of things in my bathroom, so it's pretty bare and I can hear my own echo here. So yeah, I'm pretty much ready to go. So what I'm gonna use first is I'm gonna go in with my Cetaphil. So I use the Daily Facial Cleanser. I've been using this for maybe about a year now and I like it. I find that it does help me get rid of my blemishes. I don't really have acne prone skin. I mean, I did growing up, but I think a lot of that was hormonal and just a part of, you know, being a teenager. So I think it sustains my face from breakouts and prevents it as well. So I do like that. So I'm going to massage that into my face. Then I'm going to take this, like, I don't even know what you would call this, like a cleansing pad, and massage the product into my face and make sure I'm getting deep into my skin, reaching my pores, trying to get as beneath the surface as I can to remove all that excess dirt from the day. And I am just doing this so that my product, my Cetaphil, foams a little bit. I heard that you need to ensure that it starts to foam because that is when it activates into your skin. I don't know if that's true, but I will do everything I need to. As you can see, my cheeks are really red because I am drinking wine. So now I'm going to take my reusable like makeup remover washcloth and wipe that off. Alright, and so now that that is off, I typically have a couple more steps like my witch hazel and my hydrating milky toner, but I am actually going to do a face mask so that we could let that sit in, we could talk a little bit more, and then I'll probably do my these Starface lift off pore strips that I have here. Let me go ahead and get that. It's actually in my fridge. It is very white and chalky, so I am going to look very scary on camera. Now I'm going to apply this egg white pore mask. I can't remember where I got it. It might have been Amazon, honestly, but I keep it in my fridge. It is Skin Food. My dog thinks it's like ice cream or something. It is very chalky like this here, and I'm just gonna place it on my face. Should have clipped my hair back again for this, but I look crazy. So I am sitting on my floor and I have my glass and let's chat. So I don't even know where to start. I'm sort of going off the cuff here, and as things come up, as I think about it and talk, I will share with you all. I look insane. I think the first thing that I think would be important and helpful to start off with, and I think the thing that's most salient for me, is I did not realize that getting a PhD in clinical psychology would be so isolating. And this could just be getting a professional graduate degree in general. But I think for me, this has been such a important, but also one of the hardest things about my experience. And this might be unique to me, right? Like I left Boston where I had friends and family and where I had friends and family, and I moved to South Jersey where I knew no one, and I was thankful that I had my cousin my first year who was in Philly. She was finishing up her dental degree. Shout out to you if you're watching this. I had her, and that was great, but we were also both getting professional degrees and very demanding sort of lifestyles at that time. But aside from that, I didn't have family I could turn to and, remind me, I'm doing this for, to better my future or for a greater cause. Or I didn't have, family to like, go over and just talk to when I wanted to forget about things, or just remind myself that I am a family person and that I'm a cousin, I'm a daughter, I'm this, I'm that, whatever. So that was really hard. And then I think that just became a theme throughout my graduate experience as I just got further and further along in the program. That you just go through very unique things, and it's hard to find people to relate to unless you're in the program with me, or you have gone through it. But it just, no matter what, I think would feel isolating. But yeah, you have that added layer of moving out of state and not knowing anybody, so that's challenging. I think another thing that's very unique to me is that I was the first Black woman in my program for about 3 to 4 years, which in and of itself is a whole unique and uncomfortable experience. And I will be the first Black woman to graduate from my program. So that is history in and of itself, which, as you think about it, is kind of wild, but also how incredible to be in this position, going into a place and not seeing people that look like you, not having people who you could relate to on that kind of level was challenging. I think from a faculty perspective, we did have a Black director of clinical training in our program who sadly left, but for good reasons. She left, she got a better position that would get her closer to being, president of a university one day. And so she was my person. She was my safe person. She was someone that I could relate to. She was someone that I felt that was rooting for me openly. So that was that. And that was really hard. Another thing I didn't realize, or I didn't know before getting a PhD, was it wasn't so much the rigor, right? Because I think, yeah, getting a PhD, that's some tough work. But the hardest part about getting a PhD for me was not the coursework, but it was dealing with climate issues. It is dealing with the politics in academia, dealing with the bureaucratic BS, as I'd say, and all of that. And I think that's a larger topic and discussion in and of itself, but I think that has been one of the most difficult things as well, of just having to navigate spaces like that with various kinds of people who are receptive to feedback and some who may not create a safe enough environment to warrant or encourage students to advocate for themselves and speak up on that. So I think that has been hard, and I don't think that is specific to one program over the other. It might be, but I think could be a theme across many, many different programs that a lot of directors of clinical trainings, DTCs, are trying to work on. I also wish I knew my non-negotiables before going in. I think going in and getting a PhD or getting accepted was like the biggest thing, and I was like, I just need to get in. I need to get in. After that, I'll figure out everything else. But I think asking yourself certain questions about, like, is geographical location important to you? Is a work-life balance important to you? And if so, how are you going to do that? What is your plan? What's your backup plan when things don't work? Or if you feel like, if you're realizing that like plan A actually isn't, serving you for the whole duration of your program, but just effective for this thing or that thing, like what are you going to do if this and this and this and that comes up? And yes, you cannot predict every single situation, but I didn't have a plan for all that. Like, I did not understand the day-to-day responsibilities of getting a PhD, and that's okay. But I also feel like this is one of the motivations as to why I have this YouTube channel and to why I like to talk to folks and sort of take a mentoring role and things like that. But I think my biggest non-negotiable has been and still is, I am not going to do things at the expense of my health, my mental health. And I think for me, that has been my biggest thing, like saying no to opportunities, being honest with yourself and others about deadlines and when you can turn things around, just various kinds of things like that. I really, really find that to be such an important conversation to have before, during, and after your graduate program. And yeah, those are just things I wish I knew. How would I have known that? I'm not sure, but I wish I knew them. The other thing I wish I knew before getting a PhD in clinical psychology is the financial hardship and burden that I'd experience. I think you hear things all the time about you have a stipend, you know, your research advisor could have an NIH grant or funding opportunities for you where you can get paid. There's tuition reimbursement, and that is all great and still true and has been true for me. And I still have experienced financial hardship to the point that it's a little bit or a lot of it unfathomable to expect somebody who is in their late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s to basically work as hard as we do for very little money and sustain a lifestyle as though we are working adults. And it's wild. So I think that has been something that I did not expect. Like, yes, there's financial aid, there are grants you could apply to. That's not a given, and that also is time consuming, and it also comes with expectations such as stay another year so that you could do research and it's time to wash off my face. Okay, I'm back. So I went ahead and put on the Star Face, I think it was like lift off pore mask or something like that. And like I said, disregard the redness in my cheeks. Self-diagnosed rosacea happens all the time, but especially when I am enjoying a glass of wine. Another thing I wish I knew before starting my PhD or earlier on in my PhD is that not many clinical internship positions value research publications as much as you may think they do, or as much as your research advisors might say. So as you prepare for your pre-doctoral residency, you'll hear a lot of faculty members throw around certain words like competitiveness, thinking ahead, and research publications, and diverse clinical experience. And while all of that, if not most, is true, right? I think the extent to which they talk about it, or the extent to which they think that they'll value it, is not as accurate. So specifically, I'll talk about the research position piece of it, as I said. So I was really stressed when applying for internship because I applied to internship with 2 publications, which is on the lower end of publications that PhD students in clinical psychology would get. Typically folks are applying with 7, 8, 10 if you're lucky. And my lab just wasn't as, I don't even know if productive is the right word, because I felt like we were all, for the most part, working hard. But I think the system that we have in place wasn't necessarily set up for us to be successful in the outcome or deliverable end of things. So I was nervous that would work against me when applying for internship. So I say all of that to say that that was a concern for me, that I didn't have enough publications. I wouldn't be competitive compared to all the other applicants that are applying nationwide, if not, you know, across the world. So that was something that I was concerned about. However, out of the 12 APA accredited internships that I applied to, I got 10 interviews. That is, in my book, and I think objectively, highly, highly successful and a good outcome that you want to see when you're applying for internships in clinical psychology. And I think that really speaks to this idea that there are a lot of other valuable experiences and qualities that you could bring to the table that could very well market yourself as a qualified, ready to go applicant for the position that you're applying for. I think if you're applying to research focused positions, which to be honest, I don't really know if there are many. Like, yeah, even if you're working in an academic medical setting, you're still doing clinical work. But this is a clinical internship, so keep that in mind. I think it matters more so for your end goal, your career trajectory, if you're interested in being a tenured faculty position, or being in a tenured faculty position in a university, if you want to be research leaning, whatever the case is. I think all those specifics matter the most, and that's not to say that you still can't work towards that career after you graduate. I also think it would have been helpful to have had my master's thesis be like a gateway or bridge towards my dissertation. I think I did equally so much work for both, but I could have done the legwork for my master's thesis to then set me up for better success for my dissertation. So that's something I would tell you all. The other thing I wish I knew before getting a PhD is that, and I think this will be the last thing, is that getting a PhD in clinical psychology and being a licensed clinical psychologist is not the end all be all. You are so much more than a clinical psychologist. Yes, important. Yes, it is important, but it is not the end all be all. You are still a person. You are still a human being who has many different interests, many different values, many different things that make up who you are, and don't lose that in the process, and don't allow your profession to take priority, because it's just not sustainable long term. So I want to leave you all with that, and I would love to have a conversation about just all the things that I've mentioned, maybe things I've left out, things you want to learn more about, and I hope this was helpful for you. So let's go ahead and take this off. I think I might have like 5 more minutes left with this, but we'll take this off. We'll do the rest of our skincare routine, and I will see you all in the next video.